It's time to finish this. Hello, I'm Victor, and this is The Junkyard. Probably the last Junkyard review. It's been nearly a year since I've uploaded anything, so a farewell is probably only surprising in that I bothered with one, but I really didn't want to leave without saying goodbye, without giving you something to remember me by, and without putting this to rest, but we'll get to that. I guess, in general, the frustrations of doing these reviews were beginning to outweigh the fun I was getting out of them, and I was beginning to get careless with the reviews themselves. I wasn't liking the quality. So yeah. Meanwhile, since you've seen me, I've taken care of a bit of housekeeping. Went from 310 pounds to 170. I've been holding for the last couple of months. I'm feeling a lot better, actually. Feeling really good. Oh, but I did actually gain 9 pounds, in the form of Oliver, a new nephew. Adorable little guy. The other two, they are doing quite well. But, yeah. Oh, also, I'm thinking of starting my own business, so forward! But first...
Oh, Terry Gilliam. I've seen almost all of his films, and I hate them. This isn't like with Uwe Boll, where some people have seen all of his movies because they're just such train wrecks and they're like anti-fans of his work. I don't know if Gilliam is a bad director. I'm not fit to judge because I hate his movies. Not intellectually, like emotionally, intuitively. They make me feel bad. They make me feel tired, put me in a funk. All of them. Time Bandits, 12 Monkeys, friggin' Brothers Grimm, which was a bad movie. All of them.
So you're probably wondering at this point, Victor, if you hate TG's movies on such a level and in such a way that most people don't even hate movies, why have you watched nearly all of them? That's a fair question. I'm a moron.
Long answer? Years back, I was looking through the video store one day, saw Time Bandits, thought it looked interesting, watched it, was traumatized, moved on. Saw 12 Monkeys at the library. Second verse, same as the first. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Play it again, Sam! But that time, I decided to look at the IMDb page. I say to myself, oh, hey, it's the Monty Python guy. I look him up and notice Time Bandits and 12 Monkeys. I tell myself I'll avoid his films. Later I go to see Brothers Grimm in the theater, and only in the end credits do I realize the guy is still making films. And it keeps happening. Most of Gilliam's films have really interesting premises that draw me in, and some hard-to-define quality that ends up alienating me once I'm in there. This is the guy who taught me to check the director's credit.
But there was one film I had managed to avoid. One film I knew was Terry Gilliam's. That was Brazil. So now we are going to watch this. We are going to really look at it, dissect it, and try to figure out what it is about Gilliam's films that bugs me so much. Let's do this.
So the film opens after a few establishing segments for flavor, in an office where a single dead fly starts the ball rolling with a typo. Tuttle becomes Buttle. Next we see the Buttles, an idyllic little family preparing for Christmas in their small but warm apartment, when the authorities come crashing in through the door, windows, and ceiling, grab the father and drag him away, leaving zero explanations and a receipt. Cut to a crowded, bustling workplace where Bilbo Baggins notices something amiss and calls for Sam Lowry. Sam is otherwise occupied, swooping through the air, spending quality time with his wispy, floating gossamer girlfriend. But oops, it's just a dream and Sam's late for work.
That's actually too bad. I would have liked to have seen how this movie would have played out with Sam Lowry, the Silver Archangel, showing up late for his data entry job. C'est la vie.
Well, after showing us a state of automated convenience in this world, Sam heads into work. There he catches up with an old friend in the Department of Information Retrieval, played by that guy from the Travelogues, and catches a glimpse of his dream girl. Said girl is trying to get information on Buttle, her downstairs neighbor, but is being thwarted by her world's labyrinthine bureaucracy. Speaking of which, Sam manages to track down the mistake that saw Buttle arrested in Tuttle's place, and both he and his boss are more relieved that the mistake wasn't from their department than they are upset that someone was wrongfully incarcerated. Bilbo expresses sincere appreciation for Sam's hard work and expertise, the latter expressing a sincere contentedness with his place in the world, and so is somewhat upset to find that his mother set him up with a transfer to information retrieval.
Before we go on, I should probably take a minute to look at how this film has compared to my other Gilliam movie experiences so far. It's got that same trademark camera work and acting that gives it a sort of surreal, disconnected atmosphere, but I don't know, it doesn't have that cartoony sort of quality that gives it a disconcerting, nightmarish feel. Maybe this is one of his more subdued films, or maybe I've just adjusted to his style, but frankly I don't miss it, so let's move on.
And there we go! Knew you wouldn't disappoint me, Terry. Yeah. Anyway, Sam goes to talk to his mother, who insists that he deserves to be part of the more prestigious information retrieval department. He comes across as whiny and petulant as he explains that he's happy where he is. It's an interesting take on an old cliché, I have to admit. The protagonist struggles against a stuffy authority figure who wishes to control his life without regard for his feelings, all the while rejecting the pretensions and distractions of their high society. Generally presented as one-sidedly heroic. Here, while we certainly sympathize with him, agree with him, his pouting impatience makes him just unheroic enough to make you feel for the stuffy, pretentious people around him. At the risk of sounding pretentious myself, I'll say this subtly alters the relationship we the viewer are expected to have with the protagonist. Oh, and a terrorist bomb goes off, and no one directly injured by it cares, Sam included. Back in Sam's dreamscape, the clear skies are suddenly penetrated by a plethora of blocky gray monoliths that trap both he and Dreamgirl in their symbolically phallic depths. He wakes up to find his apartment a sweltering oven, his heating system having failed catastrophically. As he waits for help to arrive, with no real indication that it will, who should arrive but vigilante heating engineer Harry Tuttle? What can I say about this guy, save that we really do need to get Robert De Niro to reprise this role for some kind of spin-off film. He quickly diagnoses and fixes the problem, showing a disdain for paperwork and procedure. Almost surprisingly, however, a couple of repairmen do show up, and Sam ends up evoking the dread name of Form 27B-6 to banish them before they can fix his heater.
The idea that there's a piece of paperwork that can send a repairman into conniptions is funny, but I actually want to back up a minute or two into the film and take a look at one of the themes at a point where it really hits home. That's ducks. Ducts. Sorry, American accent.
See, throughout this film, ducts have been a part of the mise-en-scène, which is pretentious film student talk for a movie's thematic design elements. I was left mostly unaffected by the symbolism, but the part where Tuttle removes a panel off Sam's wall, letting all the ducts spill out, pulsing like intestines, was quite visceral. Both the viewer and, from what the actor was able to convey, Sam, are kind of freaked out by how organic they appear. It's just a small visual element, but it makes the whole film feel more claustrophobic, presenting the city as a beast that our hero just happens to live and work in the belly of. Anyway, Tuttle takes off, and the next day Bilbo shows Sam an oddity, a refund check for Buttle's information retrieval procedure. However, whatever that procedure was, killed him. Sam's boss is understandably shaken, as this will make dealing with the check a filing nightmare. Sam's solution is elegantly simple. He'll simply deliver the check to Buttle's next of kin in person. After reassuring his boss that he refused the transferred information retrieval, Sam heads off. There's a driving sequence here that has some interesting visual elements, but the most noteworthy part is that we get our title in the form of a song called Brazil. I looked up the lyrics, and as far as I can tell, they have nothing to do with anything in the film. I think this movie might as well have been titled Platypus Parade for all the significance Brazil carries. I'm sure I'll be corrected in the comments, and I welcome it. Just please be respectful. Thanks. Anyway, at the Buttle residence, Sam is trying to get the widow Buttle to sign off on the check, but she's oddly apathetic about getting her $300. Instead, she's all like,
"What have you done with his body?"
And the award for the most devastatingly haunting line delivery in a feature film goes to Sheila Reed! Congratulations, Sheila, you'll be forever in our nightmares.